remarks. Let's bring this gentleman on, please, if you might. That would, of course, be ESPN's national correspondent, the author of How Football Explains America, and the host of the NFL Matchup Show, and an inductee coming up into the National Italian American Hall of Fame, and that would be Sal Paolantonio. Sal, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Pat. That's going to be in Chicago, Illinois. I'm really excited about it. My family's excited. ESPN's excited.
Very good.
Lombardi, DiMaggio.
Yeah, Dundee, right?
It's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Pretty good list.
Yeah, that's great. And good for you getting added to it.
Mario Andretti, everybody's in there.
Yeah. All right, good. Sal, let's look back for just a few seconds here. Eagles-Giants, we had posited last week whether this was a get-right game for the Eagles. My question to you is, well, was it? Or was it just because the Giants are just inept, especially at home?
I think it's because the Giants are inept. I don't think it's a get-right game. I think the Eagles did what they were supposed to do. They boat raced a bad team. They had trouble with Cleveland a little bit, and they beat the Giants. But, you look at the four teams in this stretch, Pat, the Browns and the Giants, they beat both of them. Bengals, Jaguars, combined record of 8-20. That's a 28% winning percentage with a combined point differential of minus 140. I said on your show 2 weeks ago that this 4-game stretch should get them a 4-0 record.
Right.
And if they beat the Bengals on the road, I believe that's what will happen.
Right. All right, Sal, let's look at this game here because I think this is, and I'll ask you, is this a dangerous game for Philadelphia? Not just because of Joe Burrow, but because it's a team they rarely see. These teams have only played 14 times in 56 years. They only see them once every 4 years. Is this a scary game for the Eagles?
I believe that it is. Not, we're only a couple of days away from Halloween, so let's call it scary, Pat. But, I just taped the matchup show here at NFL Films. NFL games are about matchups. So where are the Bengals scary against the Eagles in matchups? Their wide receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, against a very inexperienced secondary, and a secondary, when tested, has not really held up. The other thing is Lou Anarumo, their defensive coordinator, is as good as Steve Spagnuolo, just doesn't have the great players that Spagnuolo does. And he will test out the missing left tackle side of the Philadelphia Eagles. Without Mailata, they'll go after the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a game where I think they have to have the same approach and attitude. They have to give it to Saquon, reduce the number of throws. You still don't have Dallas Goedert. He did not practice again yesterday or today. So you don't have the number one tight end. You don't have your left tackle. You're still missing your starting right guard. You could see Jalen Hurts throwing it 15 times a game, just like 15 times a game for the next couple of weeks, and just lean on Saquon Barkley. And when you get down into your 4-minute offense, you put Gainwell on the field.
Sal, when your team throws the ball 15 times or so a game, you're going to win it. I think that's a pretty safe mantra. But when we get back, Sal, I want to talk about the two matchups, Eagles offense versus Cincy defense and vice versa. And also, it's an overreaction Thursday. We'll get Sal's take on some axioms that I've put together through 7 weeks of the NFL season. We'll do all of that next on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Park Bank. Welcome back to This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan joining you here on JAKIB Sports, joined by the soon-to-be member of the Italian American Hall of Fame, Sal Paolantonio. Sal, we were talking about this game, Philadelphia at Cincinnati, and I wanted to ask you this. Is it, and you just mentioned it before we broke, actually. Cincinnati, 22nd against the run, 136 yards a game. So do you see the Eagles, well, why get away from it, right? I mean, if you can dominate a game with this guy who is really the best free agent signing of the year, I guess it's a good debate between him and Derrick Henry. But certainly in the NFC, why get away from it, right?
Well, no, you don't want to do that, but you got to remember the Bengals played poorly at the beginning of the season, and they are getting a little bit better. Sam Hubbard, Sheldon Rankins, B.J. Hill, Trey Higginson, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, that is a pretty good front six. And when they're playing well with that defensive coordinator, you have to respect them. Without a doubt, you have to respect them. You're going to be playing Fred Johnson at the left tackle position, so you're probably going to run right a lot. But, last week they were successful, and I'm sure that Anarumo and the Bengals defensive staff looked at it, that they ran student body left behind Cam Jurgens, just like they used to do with Jason Kelsey. And the Eagles do a very good job. They have athletic offensive linemen on the left side, and that's what they do. So the Bengals would be loading up to try to stop that. The Bengals just have better personnel defensively than the Giants do.
All right.
They have a better, more experienced defensive coordinator who's been in the Super Bowl. So they can play, and they're getting better. So that is something definitely to watch. They will have to have a little bit more balance in this game. Not a whole lot, but they will. And the other thing too is you won't see A.J. Brown matched up one-on-one against the backup safety like it did last week. That 9 route that A.J. Brown ran right up the sideline in front of the Giants bench was against a backup safety. That was a mismatch that anybody playing quarterback could see. That will not happen in this game. They will have to be more creative offensively in the passing game.
All right. Well, let's stay with that, if I might. The Eagles' passing game right now, I do not want to say is pedestrian, because I think when you have those kind of weaponry, and Hurts has proven himself to be a bona fide NFL starter, but still, he's 20th in passing in yards per game and 13th in yards per pass attempt. Do you see that? I mean, is there anything holding the Eagles back aside from their ability to run the ball? But do you think if he needs to, they can turn it around, say Sunday, if they need to pass the ball, if they need to go 75 yards in a minute and a half, are they able to do it?
Well, let's look at two sides of the coin. In the aggregate, the Eagles going into week 8 have the most. They lead the NFL in plays of 40 yards or more with 10. What's one more than Baltimore? And it's done with balance. Right. 6 pass plays of 40 yards or more, 4 run plays of 40 yards or more, a total of 10 of 40 yards or more, one more than Baltimore. On the other side, Jalen Hurts, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but these are the facts. He was missing A.J. Brown for a long stretch. Right. He was missing Devontae Smith. Now he's missing Dallas Goedert. Right. He was missing Lane Johnson. And now he's missing Jordan Mailata. So what Kellen Moore has recognized is the limitations of this offense due to injuries, the strength of this offense due to Saquon, and the fact that the Giants just handed them the running game. You might as well take it. That's how you win games at the NFL level.
That's correct.
And so that's where you are. Now, the other side is, will you need more Jalen Hurts? Of course you will.
Right.
Of course. But that's not the way they're playing football right now.
Right. Yeah. And I do think they have they have the weapons to do it, Sal. I mean, this guy proved in 2022 he could do it. It'll be interesting to see, if the Eagles
plays of 40 yards or more, Pat, 6 pass plays, leads the NFL.
I don't want him to be in this position, Sal, but I do believe that if they need to go 75 yards in a minute and a half, they have the ability to do it. Now, one more question about Cincinnati. I'm going to ask Butch Hobson this too, because no one should know it more than him.
Butch Hobson. There's Johnny Bench, there's Pete Rose, and there's Butch Hobson. He is Mr. Cincinnati. Yeah. He's a voter. He's the Cincinnati representative on the Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement.
All right. I appreciate it.
This is the creme de la creme you have on your show.
I know. The Cincinnati South, they're such an enigma. Nobody knows anything about, they're one of the anonymous teams in the NFL, really.
He's Butchie Hobson. He's the man in Cincinnati. Has been
Why
since I was covering the team for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Why do the Bengals start so slow? What is it about an organization, Sal, that they have such inertia at the start of a season? Because this is like 2 or 3 years in a row now. The Bengals have missed the gas pedal at the start of the season.
Yeah, you're going to have to ask Butch about that for the specifics over the long term.
Right.
The ownership has been tight with money.
Right.
The whole, offseason holdout of their best player,
Right.
Chase. The injuries, of course, to Burrow over the last couple of years since Burrow got injured with knee injury and wrist
Yeah.
injury. He's had a number of injuries, leg injuries. So it's been a whole host of things. But I covered the Bengals in their Super Bowl against your beloved Rams. I was there when they played at UCLA and they practiced there during COVID. And I really got an appreciation for their head coach. I think their head coach is a good coach.
Right.
He's got great emotional intelligence. He knows how to call games. And they have one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. They've been unlucky. Man, oh, man.
Yeah.
If they had protected Joe Burrow in that game. Now, they were going against Aaron Donald.
Right. Right.
They only lost by 3 points.
I know. And he sacked 7 times. I remember. You're right. And of
They
course,
protected Joe Burrow in that game. They win that game, Pat.
and Sal, the other thing too, just like the Bills, they unfortunately they play in a conference with Mahomes and Reed, and that is a pretty substantial disincentive. All right, Sal, listen, I want to do a little overreaction Thursday with you here, pal, and I'm going to hit you with a number of conclusions, and I want to know if these are overreactions or if you think they are fact-based. All right,
I am ready, Pat Callahan.
Go back to your newspaper type experience here. All right, Baker Mayfield's season has peaked. Yes or no?
Overreaction, Pat.
All right. You think that you think Shepard and McMillan can step in for Godwin and Evans?
Pat, this is machine gun round. Overreaction. That's all you're going to get out of me.
All right, done and done. How about this one? Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy as the Aaron Rodgers who
now, do you want a whole segment on this, Pat? Because I could go a whole segment.
No. You can do a little more than you did on the first one. But no, I don't need a whole segment. I just want you to
watch Aaron Rodgers throw the football.
Right.
Anybody who watches football, he's throwing it off his back foot.
Right.
He's sidearming it. He's throwing it like he was 28 and 38 years old.
Right.
Just doesn't have the zip on it. And he doesn't have the experience with these receivers. It's a mess. And when Devontae Adams gave that speech this week, we're running out of time or time is of the essence. Who do you think he was talking about?
I guess. Yeah.
He was talking about the 40-year-old quarterback.
Right. He wasn't talking about Breece Hall, and that is true. All right, Sal. The loser of Dallas, San Francisco Sunday night is in big trouble in the NFC. Overreaction or no?
Not an overreaction. Big trouble.
Yeah.
It's what Peyton and Eli like to call the gotta have it game. Gotta have it, Pat. Gotta have it.
I think Dallas got a big break though with the injuries that San Francisco now has. I'd be curious to see if Deebo Samuel is going to play because Brock Purdy, I think Sal gets a little exposed when he doesn't have 2 Pro Bowlers at wide receiver, and he also doesn't have an All-Pro at running back. So Purdy's not going to win games by himself, Sal. So
I get a little exposed when I'm not on the air with Pat Callahan. How about that?
Yeah, I just think I'm just saying he's I'm sorry, he's a system quarterback, and I think Dallas, who plays terribly out in San Francisco,
terrible. Dak Prescott can't play out there. By the way, congratulations to Xander Krause. I'm wearing a red shirt and a black jacket, and you're wearing a red shirt and a black vest. That is some kind of next level producing by Xander.
That is Tricanian-like production right there by Xander Krause. That's what I expect. It's what I fully expect here at JAKIB Sports. All right, Sal, the last one. You and I have joked often, I should say, about October Lamar, and he's playing lights out. But here's my overreaction here. Derrick Henry, because he's such an unbelievable presence. He looks like the Predator back there with an NFL helmet on.
Wow.
But his presence can get Lamar Jackson to a Super Bowl.
Overreaction. They got to go through Kansas City, Pat.
Right.
Look at the standings.
Yeah,
Look at the standings.
Fair.
That's an overreaction. Hey, Pat, here's my MVP list right now. Derrick Henry, number 1.
Right.
Jared Goff, number 2.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, number 3.
All right. Now, comparing Lamar to Jared Goff now. See, the trouble for Jared Goff, Sal, is he's just so vanilla. And I don't mean that in a pigment context. What I'm saying is
Jared Goff only has 18 incompletions in the last 6 weeks.
He does. I know he does, but don't tell me voters are going to look. They're going to look that much into the statistics. They're going to take Lamar.
That's
over.
one thing I don't vote on, Pat.
Yeah. Well, you should be in there. I'll get you in there. All
Thank
right. Just don't leave that Hall of Fame. By the way, the list of the final 50 came out. I see Eric Allen is on it. He really doesn't have what I consider to be terribly stiff competition at cornerback, Sal, this year. So I think, do you think Allen has a good chance maybe to get to the 15?
I do.
All right. Good.
We will discuss.
Yeah.
Ask Butchie if we'll vote for him.
I will. I'll do that.
Hey, Butchie, you want to come back on This Week in Pro Football? Vote for Eric Allen.
He's the only Eagle of the 50. It's really something sometimes, that franchise. Just you did such a heck of a job of getting these past Eagles in. There's nobody left, Sal.
Dawkins, Vermeil, Carmichael.
I know. Next, Gabriel. That's the next one for you. All right. All right, Sal, pal, thanks a lot for joining me, pal. Congratulations again on the induction into the Italian-American Hall of Fame. Look forward to talking to you again next week.
National Italian-American Hall of Fame, Pat. Come on, wow.
All right, Sal. Congratulations,
Chicago,
pal.
Illinois. All right, I'll see you.
We'll talk to you soon. All right. Sal Paolantonio joining me there. Jared Goff for MVP. That will never happen, ladies and gentlemen. It'd be interesting to see if the Lions run the table in the NFC. If Jared Goff would get serious consideration for MVP. Of course, it's always a quarterback, but I just don't believe that they're going to pick a guy who seemingly was a cast member, from Little House on the Prairie, and they're going to give him the MVP. We'll see. All right. When we get back here on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford, how about we be joined by the great Sean Green? We're going to talk some picks and props. We're going to talk a few key games, including Philadelphia, Cincinnati. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football.